Hey, this is Brian Fisher, the creator of the Forget Me Now Chrome extension, and today we're going to talk about what does it do and how does it work. So first, it automatically clears all of your browsing data on closing the last tab for that site. This has the added benefit of once it's been cleared, it will thwart any attempts of performing cross-site tracking on other sites that you visit. Second, it blocks pixel and web beacon trackers. Now this is off by default because it may affect the functionality of some sites, but when enabled, it prevents the tracking of your page visits and of opening your emails within something like Gmail. Third, it blocks fingerprinters and profilers. This is off by default for the same reason, but when enabled, it will prevent sites from uniquely identifying you by profiling your device and collecting its unique set of attributes, like your browser, its version, resolution, the refresh rate, CPU, all of that together to uniquely identify you versus that device. So now you can browse the web privately. It also blocks the tracking of clicks, so that data is no longer sent out as well. And finally, it has the ability to remove cross-site cookies, and this is off by default as well, but when enabled, it will prevent the sharing of any of your account information with third parties. It's typically used for usage tracking or user analytics or marketing purposes, but once you enable this, it'll remove any previously set cross-site cookies and any ones that will be set in the future. So let's see how it works. So first, let's introduce you to the extension icon over to the top right. It's blue in color, which means it's enabled by default, and that's the case for all sites. And blue means it's enabled for automatic clearing of site data. So I have example sites here open, portal.discover.com and discover.com. And as you can see here, it's blue indicating, again, it is enabled for automatic automatic clearing of data. But that only happens when I close the last tab for that site. So I'll close the discover.com and nothing will happen because I still have portal.discover.com open. And that's there so that it doesn't clear cookies in advance of you being done browsing that website, because you might have multiple tabs open for that domain. But when I close the final tab of that site, it gives me this notification and says, hey, I'm clearing the site data for those 2 pages you visited. And you have the option, say, well, I forgot that this is enabled by default. Don't clear it this time, but in the future, I'll just let it automatically clear. Now, if you click on that button, it won't clear, but otherwise, if you just let the notification timeout go away on its own, or click on it anywhere, or click the X icon, it'll automatically clear your browsing data. Now, you might be saying, well, that can get rather annoying, having all those notifications every time I close out tabs. Well, you have the ability to turn that off. You go to the extension icon, right-click on it, go to Global Options, and you'll see here, Notify Before Clearing Data is by default enabled. You can uncheck that, and you won't get those notifications. I leave it on just for that safety mechanism in case I don't want to clear something by accident. So let's go back and open up the domains again, portal.discover.com, for instance. And you'll notice it's saved its site state of being just enabled blue. But let's say, for instance, we want to enable blocking, right? So if you see here, right-clicking the icon, site blocking options is disabled right now. And that's because blocking is disabled by default. That's just to make sure. It may interfere with the functionality of the site. You kind of want to test it out, and then you can decide what to leave it on. In this case, I'm going to turn it on, and all you have to do is you hover over the extension icon, you get this little helpful tooltip, enable blocking ? Meaning if you left-click on this, it will enable blocking for this domain. So I'll go ahead and do that. Now, since this is the first time I'm doing it, you get this notification requesting additional permissions. These are permissions that aren't necessary for clearing the browsing data, and they're a little bit more sensitive. So this is best practices for developing a Chrome extension. You only ask for the permissions you need up front. But in order to do fingerprint blocking or pixel beacon blocking, you need these additional permissions. So you would simply click on Request Permissions, then Chrome will prompt you, hey, are you okay with these? You say Allow, and you're good. And what you'll notice is you have a little X icon and the trash can indicating you have blocking enabled. Now you may see a badge start to pop up. All right, so the badge that's green is counting the number of pixel/web beacons that are being blocked. So if you only have pixel web beacons being blocked, it'll be green. But if you have fingerprint blocking going on as well, it'll turn red. And how you control that is right-click on the extension, and you can go to now. You see site blocking options is enabled. And by default, when you enable blocking, both pixel and beacon blocking and fingerprint blocking will be enabled. So you see I'm only getting a green badge, though. I told you get a red badge if you have both of them enabled. It's because all of the fingerprinting scripts have already been loaded. If I refresh this page, you will see that will be different. So it'll start green here. And depending on if this site has any fingerprinters, which in this case it doesn't, let me open up discover.com. And you'll notice I don't have to do anything. It already has the settings saved here for blocking, and it's already enabled. So there's nothing more for me that I need to worry about. So you see it's already doing its thing. Now, if I want to change something about the site blocking options for fingerprinting, so maybe I'm getting too many errors blocking too many fingerprints. Well, you can go to your fingerprint blocking exceptions and you can change it from being restrictive to less restrictive. By default, it's on the option here, which is saying I want to allow any requests that are from any subdomain, one subdomain removed from discover.com. All right, so those are good domains. I'm okay with those. If you want to be less restrictive, you can say I don't mind if it's 2 subdomains removed. So it could be blah.portal.discover.com, and that's fine too. Or if you just want 2 or more and be the least restrictive, you can do that. Or you can be more restrictive and say, no, it has to exactly match the whole domain, which is referred to the fully qualified domain. That's most restrictive. Now, the way this is doing matching in the background is it's matching against the initiator of the request, the origin of the request, and the URL domain in the tab, and comparing all those 3 to the setting you have chosen here. So again, by default, it's on this option, just 1 subdomain removed. It works pretty much well for most websites. Some websites you might need to be less restrictive on. Some you may want to be more. So those are your options. Now, all these options that we have here, both the exceptions, whether or not you have fingerprint or beacon blocking enabled, right? All of these are stored within your Chrome sync storage. So, for instance, if I were to say, hey, I just want to disable fingerprint blocking altogether, if I were to close out this site, first you'll notice here it's on the same domain, so it's shared here. Fingerprint blocking is disabled, and you can't mess with the exceptions anymore. The same would be true if I just open up the tab again. It's going to save that setting. Now I can enable fingerprint blocking, and everything will be copacetic again. So that's how we control blocking. Now, the last thing that we talked about is removal of cross-site cookies. So let's go ahead and do that. So cross-site cookies removal is a global option. So if I right-click, go to global options, you'll see here I have cross-site cookie removal. So if I go ahead and click on this, and if this is the first time, it's going to ask me for additional permissions. The extension needs to have access to cookies. Again, you're going to want to approve this permission, and everything's good. So what will happen now is if you were to, let's say, disable this for whatever reason, and then re-enable it, you'll see how many cookies it removed that were previously set as cross-site cookies, and any ones in the future will be. So you get this notification just to alert you in the future when you have cross-site cookie removal enabled. Because since this is a global setting, it's cross domains, it's cross tabs. There's no badge indicator indicate blocking of them because it's blocking everywhere. So that's what this notification's for, and it's only when you first enable it. And that's how you do the main settings. Now, there's a few other things that you can do. Okay, great, I got blocking enabled, I got cookie blocking enabled, blah, blah, blah. But there's some sites that I don't want blocked at all, like, the google.com domain, because I don't want docs.google.com blocked, I don't want drive.google.com blocked, I don't want mail.google.com blocked. I don't want them blocked, and I don't want my data cleared, because I don't want to keep logging in every time, because these are highly used websites. So by default, automatic clearing is enabled. Remember, I click it once, and it goes to blocking. I click it again, and it goes to disabled, right? So you see it says now enable forget me now. So right now it's disabled. So that means no blocking and no automatic clearing of site data is occurring now. And this will be saved for the entire google.com domain on all the tabs that have a page with that loaded in. Pretty cool. But let's say for whatever reason, this one time, you want to actually clear this site when you close it. And you maybe have a whole bunch of google.com domains and you want to close it. Or let's say, for once you want to just close out all of the Discover tabs. You can simply right-click. There are a set of manual actions you can go to. One is clear this site and close. That would be, in this case, clearing the sites that have discover.com domain. So regardless of the stored setting for that site, whether it's disabled or not, will force clear it this time and then close them out. You could also clear all open sites. That'd be every site, no matter how many windows or tabs you have, and it'll close them. You can also reset the site's options essentially back to default. So that would be blocking is disabled, but automatic clearing of data is enabled, right? So you can automatically reset this site to that, or automatically reset all sites back to their default settings. It's just quick, easy manual actions to use. For instance, if I use clear this site and close, you'll see here, that's what it does. Now, if for whatever reason I used the manual action clear all sites, all open sites and close, I get a little safety notification here just to make you aware. Are you sure you want to clear and close all open sites? Because you might not have actually meant that. So in this case, I clicked on the wrong thing, so I just want to I don't want to actually clear all sites. I was just trying to clear this one. So the safety mechanism is built in. Now finally, when it comes down to global options, there's two other capabilities. One is by default, when you clear the browsing data on closing the last tab for a site, it does not clear the cache. And that's just for performance reasons, so that when you come back to the site, you don't have to download all the files again. But if you want to, you can enable this, and it will clear the cache. And this is a global setting for all sites and domains. So just keep that in perspective. And then we also have a help section where we have our FAQ and our What's New page. Now, our What's New page will automatically open anytime this extension gets updated, because the What's New page, if we go and click on this, will show essentially what's new based on the latest version number. So you can see what new capabilities exist, plus any bug fixes. And there's a fair number of bug fixes in the next release coming up. And that covers manual actions and global options. One last thing, you do have manual actions if you right-click on the page as well. So you can do this for clearing this site or resetting this site. So that's a quick way of accessing it as well. That's it for Forget Me Now extension and how it protects your privacy. Thank you for your attention. Hopefully this extension will protect your privacy while browsing the web. And enjoy.